Imagine a city with beautiful green gardens, built in the middle of a desert. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, are a mystery. Were they real or just a story? Let's find out the truth. Old texts describe a huge garden with waterfalls and rare plants in the desert. It was a stunning oasis, unmatched in history. But why haven't we found its ruins? Let's explore the mystery. People say King Nebuchadnezzar II created the gardens for his wife, who missed the green mountains of her homeland. But is there real evidence, or is it just an old tale? Let's investigate. Greek-Roman writers described the Hanging Gardens long after their time. They told stories of a lush paradise with amazing engineering. But Babylonian texts never did. Why? Let's dig deeper. If the Hanging Gardens existed, they needed smart watering systems. Water was raised high up. Some think an ancient water pump kept the plants green. Let's explore how. The Hanging Gardens are unique. No ruins exist, unlike other ancient wonders. Digs in Babylon found grand buildings, but nothing like the gardens. Where are they? Some think the gardens were in Nineveh, not Babylon. King Sennacherib of Assyria built a high-tech garden with a water system. Could history have mixed up the two cities? Ancient myths blend truth and fiction. Over time, stories shift and details evolve. Could the Hanging Gardens be a mix of real places from history? If the Hanging Gardens were real, what happened? Some say earthquakes ruined them. Others think wars or neglect caused their end. The name Hanging Gardens might not mean they were floating. They could have been built on step terraces, layered to look like a green mountain. A clever illusion of nature. The Hanging Gardens are called one of the seven wonders, but only Greek texts mention them. Others, like the pyramids, have physical proof. The gardens? Still a mystery. The Hanging Gardens, real or not, show human imagination. If real, they prove ancient people beat nature's challenges to create paradise. A timeless inspiration. Today's architects use vertical farms and rooftop gardens to copy the Hanging Gardens idea. The ancient legend still inspires new ways to bring nature into cities. Scientists keep digging for clues. With high-tech tools like satellite scans, maybe we'll uncover the lost garden someday. Will the mystery finally be solved? What's your take? Were the Hanging Gardens real or just a myth? Could they be in a different city? Share your thoughts below. Like and subscribe for more ancient mysteries. Thanks for watching. Real or story, the Hanging Gardens inspire awe. Keep wondering and join us next time for more adventures.